You absolutely love them or you absolutely hated them. Today, we're going to be going over the most controversial map in every Call of Duty. Let's dive in. We're going to start this one off in Call of Duty 4, and we're going to go with Block. B-L-O-C. Now, a lot of you might not remember this map, but actually, it's one of the bigger maps in the original game, and I feel like this one was often avoided. Now, a quick reminder, this is not the most hated maps, but it's more of like a controversial take. So, you know, that's just how we're gonna do this. But basically, there was this open, just giant open square with a statue in the middle, and it was pretty much Sniper's Paradise because there was buildings on each side of this middle section. And honestly, if you went anywhere in the middle of this, you were getting sniped. There was no way you were gonna make it. So somebody like me who was like a rusher, liked to move around the map, you would have to circle around the entire thing to get and flank these snipers. I'm not gonna lie. If you didn't snipe, you probably hated this map. Now, if you sniped, this might be one of your favorite maps. But listen, that's why this is controversial. Next up, we are going to World at War, and I'm gonna go with CeeLo. Now, the problem with CeeLo was it was way too big, and it was one of those maps that had tanks. Now, I think Call of Duty World at War had like 3 maps that had tanks. Now, this was one of them, and I feel like because it was such a big map plus tanks, it just was not liked very much. Now, if you like tanks, of course, you're gonna probably like this map, but here's the funny thing about this is why I think it's so controversial is because it was hated when you played it in Team Deathmatch. But when you actually played Search and Destroy in World at War and got CeeLo, this map suddenly became amazing because you want to know why? The tanks went away and they cut the map in half. So if you played Search and Destroy, you never crossed over the train tracks. Both bombs were on this side of like the cornfield. It was so weird how they did this. It was almost like they put 2 maps in one, and when you did Search, you only did 1 map. If it would have been CeeLo, the Search and Destroy map, it probably would have been a really well-known and loved map. But tanks, extra large map, never goes well in Call of Duty, in my opinion. Now, in Modern Warfare 2, I feel like we've done this map like in every video that we've created so far, but we're going with Fuel. Now, this was a DLC map back in the day. It came out with the Resurgence map pack. So some of you guys probably never even played it, let's be honest with you. But again, just like World at War, it felt like it was 2 maps in one. Like it should have been cut in half, but it wasn't. So it was this huge, massive, I guess, fuel workplace, and it just was unbelievable how big it was. It took you 25 minutes to get into gunfights, and of course we know with our glitches video that we've talked about that you could get into a rock in the back of the map and you could sit in there. It took forever to get patched. It was one of those maps that I feel like in the era of Battlefield versus Call of Duty, they were trying to like test if they could do bigger maps, and this test failed miserably in my opinion. Now in Black Ops 1, I had to revisit all these maps again and just figure out which one I wanted to go with. And I'm going with Berlin Wall. Now this, again, was a DLC map in the first Strike Pack. And I believe it was one of the first times that Call of Duty kind of introduced a gimmick or a dynamic map. You know, obviously with Black Ops 1, we had like launch with the rocket going off, but it was only like affecting a little bit of the map. Well, in this one, there was the entire middle of the map was a gimmick per se. It was called No Man's Land, and it was actually highlighted in red. And if you wanted to try to run into that area, there were turrets that would shoot you. So you could not get to the other side. I kind of did a little research and watched like an Ali A video back in the day of this map when he played it, and they were all saying the same thing, like it's a solid map, but because they added this little area where you just died pretty much and you couldn't get to the other side, it was like, all right, what was the real point of that? And it kind of ruined the flow of the map, making it a very controversial map. Now, Modern Warfare 3, we are going to go with Downturn. And I'm going to be honest here, I feel like more people disliked this map than loved it because, well, just pretty much how it looked, let's be honest with you. There wasn't a lot of identity in this one. It was a pretty big map. It felt cluttered. It just didn't flow well. There wasn't like crazy good gunfights, and the color scheme of the map, I mean, it's depressing. Modern Warfare 3 had a couple of these kind of depressing looking maps, but for the most part, they were actually enjoyable maps, the other ones. This one is just overall, no. Just, you know what I mean? Just no. Now, Black Ops 2, we're gonna go with Aftermath. Now, the funny thing about this is it actually had some pretty iconic moments with this map, but I feel like it was miserable for players that like to rush. It was very easy to get spawn trapped on one side of the map, and I feel like anytime this map popped up and it did get voted, you were probably going to back out. I mean, a lot of areas too were claymores and shotguns kind of ran rampant. It's funny. I feel like if this map were to be put into a Call of Duty today, we'd probably be like, all right, this isn't that bad. But in Black Ops 2, the standard was so high for maps. This became controversial because we're like, what in the world was Treyarch doing with this map? Now people are saying, what in the world was Treyarch doing with the map on every single map in Black Ops 6? So times have changed. Now we get to Ghosts, and I think we know what map I'm gonna go with, and I'm going with Stonehaven. I feel like this is one of the most controversial maps in the franchise, not just in COD Ghost. I feel like objectively, you know what? The concept of this map is actually pretty cool. You know, the castle, the fields, kind of had like a little Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings vibe to it. It's got the castle. I don't know. You talk to people and you're like, you know, some people say they don't mind this map. They actually enjoyed it. I just don't understand how you could have that thought process when how big this map was and how quick the TTK was in this game. You could run 20 minutes, 20 miles, and just die to somebody camping in a corner. I remember dying to people in the back of the castle all the way back in the back. It was disgusting behavior. And I'm like, why am I playing this game? Why am I playing this map? But I actually want to know in the comments, if you made it to this far, do you like Stonehaven? Do you like, I might actually make a poll on my YouTube community page and say, is Stonehaven a good map? If I do before this video goes out, you'll see the results. If I don't, I'll do it after. Now that brings us to the jetpack era with Advanced Warfare. And this one to me is probably one of the easier ones. It's Defender. Now, this was another year of dynamic map events, and well, Defender probably got the worst one out of all of them. If you didn't know, halfway through the game, a massive tidal wave, yes, you're hearing me correctly, a tidal wave would flood the map, and it would cover about half the map with it. Now, just a reminder, we are in a jetpack Call of Duty here, so when we're playing this game, we're used to going all over the place and quick and fast, and then you would have all this water, and you would actually end up having to run slower. You couldn't really jetpack over that area because I don't know what the thought process was. But again, this was an era of like flipping the maps upside down. They had another one. I can't remember what it was right now, but the entire map would flip. It would be, I think it was a comeback or something like that. And it would get flooded with gas and you'd have to switch to the other side. I like the idea and the premise, but I feel like the execution was terrible. And that's why I think it's controversial. Now, Black Ops 3 is going to bring us to a map called Rupture. Now, I feel like, again, I feel bad doing some of these as DLC maps because I know for a fact some of you guys did not play these, and I get it. I mean, Jetpack era was not the most well-liked era, but this was actually a remake of Outskirts from World at War in a futuristic setting. And now you may ask yourself, why in the world was this so controversial? Well, they decided to add vehicles. They wanted to stay one-to-one in that Outskirts vibe, and they ended up making mechs. They put mechs in the game. So instead of tanks like they did in Outskirts, they actually were mechs. They were pretty overpowered. I don't want to say they're overpowered. They died pretty quickly, but they did kind of, I don't know, they just ruined the flow of the map. It felt kind of awkward. It felt kind of forced. And it was an experiment that I feel like just failed. It just failed. Now this one surprises me. This is an Infinite Warfare, and we're gonna go with Frontier. Now, if you missed our small maps video, make sure you go watch it. But this was exactly why it was controversial. This game, again, was another jetpack game, and people expected the maps to be a little bit larger to kind of coincide with jetpacks, and it wasn't. It was a very small, tight-knit map, small hallways, not a lot of spots to jump around with your jetpack. It would have been a very, very good boots-on-the-ground COD map. It feels like it almost got deleted from COD Ghosts, is kind of what I feel like. It felt like a campaign mission COD Ghost area, and they added it in IW. But again, people, if you look at the beta comments in IW, this map was hated. And I can't believe it because I actually thought it was one of the better ones. World War II. This is controversial for all the wrong reasons, I guess. Gustav Cannon, one of the bigger maps in the game, one of the weirder looking maps in the game. There's just a large cannon sitting on an elevated platform. And the problem with this was this became really the only strong point of the game due to this high point. Kind of like you're kind of defending this high ground. And I guess I feel like if you were camping and you like to snipe, you would absolutely love this map. But again, an SMG, a rusher like myself, I feel like it was just me constantly running up, going to the top, trying to get a kill or two. But now I have an SMG and now I can't do anything besides try to get the people from far away. Then I just get sniped in the head. So if you liked this map, you were probably a camper or a sniper. If you hated this map, you were probably an SMG, maybe an assault rifle guy. Black Ops 4. Now, Black Ops 4 had some sneaky good maps, but they also had a lot of like okay maps. And that's why I'm going with Icebreaker for this one. You know, this one is kind of funny because it had a good thought process, but they tried to mess with the flow. The typical 3-lane maps that Treyarch is really, really well known for making, they do a great job. This had the 3-lane, but on the outside, it was snow, and then the 2 outside ones were snow. And then the middle one was like a building and water. So honestly, rarely would you ever go in the middle lanes because it was just clunky and it was just annoying to go through that. So the battle on this map would go around the outskirts at all times. And it was just, it felt like it was so close to being a good map, and then it wasn't. Modern Warfare 19. Now this is gonna be another one that I put up as a poll on this channel because I will get the comments all the time. Piccadilly, it was a good map. And then you'll get people saying, myself included, Piccadilly is one of the worst maps I've ever played in my entire life. And I kind of love the give and take with this one. I love that there's that strong of contrast in opinions. I don't know, this thing had shops, apartments. I will say this, it looked absolutely fantastic, but I felt like it was just one of the best maps to camp in the entire world. And I remember getting call outs. I feel like the announcer was like, buy the truck, buy the car. And there's so many cars and trucks and vans on this map that you can sit behind. It's like, hey brother, that call out ain't working for me, man. You got to find something else to say. Visually, for me, looked outstanding. Probably one of the most beautiful maps we've ever gotten in Call of Duty. Unfortunately, it played probably the worst. I bet you liked it if you can. Be honest. I love this one because I remember this one very vividly with Cold War. We're going with Cartel. Now, this is actually going to be controversial because of one simple thing, the beta. If you played this thing in the beta, the bushes in the middle of the map were some of the most difficult things to see through and took up so much space on the map that people complained all the way up until launch. I don't actually know. I want to say it was in the beta, but maybe it wasn't in the beta. If it's not in the beta, it was terrible visibility at launch as well. And it actually did not get patched till way further down the line where they trimmed some of the bushes. And I just think it's so funny that, I don't know, that this actually happened. Like an update for this map was trimming the bushes so it wasn't controversial anymore. So you could see and have better lines of sight during the map. I don't know. Let's get a trim the bushes in the comments, please. With Vanguard, I'm actually going to go with Red Star. Now, Red Star is actually a map that I remember pretty frequently, but it just, I don't know, man. It felt like there was something wrong with it in the terms of layout, how big it was. It was a very large map. It was very hard to see with visibility. There was snow, and it was kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't, I don't think it was actually snowing, but it just felt like you couldn't see because of like the fog in the air. It was very weird. And again, I know I said the map was big and it was bad, kind of just the way it was designed. It felt like the gunfights were kind of scattered throughout the map. There was no real flow to it. Anytime that there's a no flow in a game like that, it really opens up this map to get scrutinized, in my opinion. And we all know we could scrutinize a lot about Vanguard, let's be honest with you. Okay, so Modern Warfare 2, this is another one of those maps where I have no idea what was going on in the developer's head. We're gonna go with Border Crossing. Santa Fe Border Crossing, I think is what it's called. My goodness, this map is absolutely terrible. Pretty much was a walkable minefield of cars that just constantly exploded. It didn't matter where you were on the map. There was gonna be a car to your left or right or front and behind you, and that had the option to blow up. There was no maps. I don't know if there was one vehicle besides like the bus that couldn't blow up on this map. And it got so bad that Treyarch, or no, I'm sorry, not Treyarch. My goodness. I'm sorry, Treyarch. I would never put that on you. Infinity Ward had to update the map, kind of like Cartel. They had to update it through its life cycle to make less cars explodable. I mean, what? Now we're on MW3 and we're gonna go with I guess a seasonal map that came in, and we're gonna be going with Yard. Now Yard actually was a pretty fun map. It was a little bit smaller, but flow was pretty good. And honestly, I overall, the maps that they added in MW3 were really good. This one was actually more controversial just because of the way it looked. Visually, Call of Duty people are kind of used to a certain style. And this map kind of brought I almost want to say Borderlands. It kind of looked like it was pulled right out of the Borderlands game. And they did it with other maps as well. I think they did it with a shipment, I believe. And people didn't really vibe with it. So I don't know. I'm down for Call of Duty to try this kind of stuff. I personally liked it, but a lot of people in the community were like, this should have been a normal Modern Warfare map. Don't make it like Borderlands. Okay. Well, we gotta have some fun sometime, right? All right, well, BO6, our final game in this bad boy. I'm going with Lowdown, man, or Lowtown. It's so controversial, I don't even know how to pronounce the name right. Lowtown. It just feels like this map, I don't know. The maps are super small in Black Ops 6. This one's kind of, I would say this one is medium size. But the problem is it becomes a small map because half the map is water. There's water on the left, there's water on the entire right side. It cuts off everything, and now the flow's gone, especially because you can't even use your gun in these games like you could in Black Ops 3. If you're underwater, you gotta use your pistol or a knife. It just doesn't make sense to me. It makes the map not fun to play. And you know what? I think without the water, the map would kind of, it would be good. Well, there you go, guys. That is the most controversial map, in my opinion, in every single Call of Duty. But what do you think? How do you think I did? Do you think there's a map that I'm missing in a certain Call of Duty? Do you think I knocked it out of the park? Hey, listen, I think I did, but it is what it is. I'll take your comments as well. Hope you enjoyed this type of video. If you got any more ideas for me, put them down in the comments down below. Leave a like on the video if you can. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. Closing in on 500,000 subscribers. I'm going to say it every single video till we get there. And then I'll probably say the next number after that. But anyway, if you want to watch another video, go click over there. We'll see you in the next one.